I never thought working with clay in a quiet evening class would make me feel so tenderly connected to someone. The small pottery studio had soft lighting and calm music playing in the background. I had joined the beginner class to try something new and creative. One evening, the teacher announced we would work in pairs for the wheel-throwing exercise. She paired me with a man who had joined a few weeks earlier. His name was Dev. He sat beside me at the shared wheel. When it was time to start shaping the clay, the teacher told us to guide each other's hands. Dev moved closer. He placed his hands over mine on the spinning wet clay. His palms covered the back of my hands completely, warm, steady, and gentle. That first touch, his wet, warm hands covering mine on the clay, sent a slow, sweet wave of warmth through my entire body. I felt it deep in my chest. I didn't pull away. Instead, I let his hands guide mine, feeling the strength and care in every small movement. "Relax. Breathe with the wheel," he said softly near my ear. We worked together like that for a long time. His chest was close behind me, his arms reaching around to support my hands. Every time the wheel turned, our bodies brushed lightly. His fingers moved with mine over the slippery clay, shaping it slowly and patiently. The closeness felt incredibly intimate in the quiet studio. When the piece started to take shape, he kept his hands over mine a little longer than necessary. The clay spun between our joined hands, wet and warm. I leaned back slightly against him, letting the moment last. He noticed and rested his chin gently near my temple for a second, before straightening again. After the class, most people left quickly. Dev and I stayed to clean our station. He stood close while we washed the clay from our hands at the sink. His arm brushed mine. Then he turned me gently toward him and placed his hands on my waist, looking at me with soft eyes. "You have good hands for this," he said quietly. "So do you," I whispered. He kept his hands on my waist as we talked about the class. The studio was almost empty now. His thumbs made small, comforting circles on my sides. I stepped a little closer until our hips touched lightly. The longing started right there, a beautiful, warm ache that grew with every gentle touch. From that evening, Dev and I became regular partners in every class. Every session began the same way. The moment we sat at the wheel, his hands would cover mine on the clay. His body stayed close behind or beside me, arms reaching around to guide and support. We moved together with the spinning wheel, hips brushing softly, shoulders touching, hands joined over the wet clay. The physical closeness was constant and natural. Between exercises, we would sit side by side on the low stools. His arm would go around my shoulders or rest on my waist. I would lean into him, my hand resting on his knee or his arm. We started talking quietly about more than just pottery. I told him how creating something with my hands helped me feel less alone. He shared that the studio was one of the few places where he could slow down and feel present. One evening after a long throwing session, Dev kept his hands on my waist as we stood up. He turned me to face him. Our bodies pressed gently together. He looked into my eyes for a long moment, then leaned in and placed the softest kiss on my forehead. His lips were still slightly cool from the clay water. When he pulled back, he kept his hands on my waist and kissed me again, this time on the lips, slow and tender. I kissed him back, my clay-dusted hands resting on his chest. We stood there in the quiet studio, bodies close, sharing a gentle kiss full of the emotion that had been building week after week. After that, the closeness continued beyond the wheel. We started staying late after class to clean up together. Dev would stand behind me at the sink, his arms around my waist while we washed the tools. I would lean back against his chest, feeling safe and warm. Sometimes we would sit on the studio couch in the corner. I would curl onto his lap, my legs across his thighs, his arms wrapped around my waist. We talked for hours while staying tangled together, his fingers stroking my arm and back, soft kisses landing on my temple or my lips whenever the conversation grew quiet or sweet. The emotional connection deepened with every class and every conversation. I told him about the days when I felt stuck and unseen. He shared how pottery had helped him heal from a difficult time. His hands never stopped moving gently on my body while I spoke, always respectful, always caring. I would press closer, letting my body melt against his. One peaceful evening, the studio was empty except for us. Dev sat at the wheel and pulled me onto his lap, facing him. I straddled his hips gently, my arms around his neck. His hands rested on my lower back, holding me close. The wheel was still now, but we stayed like that, talking softly about our hopes for the future. Between words, he kissed me, slow, emotional kisses that made the longing feel warm and alive. Our bodies stayed pressed together, hips connected, hearts beating in the same rhythm. We kept every touch tender and full of care. His hands on my waist or covering mine on the clay never rushed. My responses stayed soft and emotional. The beautiful tension was always there, the ache of wanting to be even closer, but we let it grow slowly through shared breath, shared clay, and shared quiet moments. As months passed, the pottery studio became more than a class. It became our place. Every week we created something new together on the wheel, hands joined, bodies close. After class, we continued the closeness outside, walking home with his arm around my waist, sitting in cafes with me leaning against his side, cooking simple meals with him standing behind me, arms wrapped around my waist. That first touch in the art studio, his warm hands covering mine on the spinning clay, had opened something deep and beautiful. It taught me how good it felt to be guided, to be held, and to create something real with someone. Now when I walk into the studio, my heart feels light, because I know Dev will be there, ready to place his hands over mine on the clay, to hold my waist between pieces, to kiss me softly, and to keep building this tender emotional connection that started with one warm, caring touch in the quiet art studio. He is my pottery partner in every sense, the man whose gentle hands first guided mine through wet clay and then quietly guided my heart toward real closeness and longing. And every time his palms rest over mine or his arms wrap around my waist, I feel the same sweet warmth that began on that very first evening at the wheel.